Good afternoon and welcome back to the 120th. I am still in Johannesburg and still on my travels. And today I am going to be testing out a new camera. As I often do when I travel to new places, I like to have a little route around Facebook Marketplace and eBay and whatever local kind of auction sites there are, as well as going for a little walk around local camera shops and flea markets and that kind of thing, looking to see what cameras are on sale and whether I might be able to pick up something I don't normally see in the UK. Interestingly, it does seem like the vintage camera market in South Africa is a little bit sparse. There's not all that much about, and what there is about, even with the very favourable exchange rates we have at the moment, what is around is pretty expensive. But I did go and have a look around some flea markets to see what I could find, and I found some interesting bits and bobs. I found a Moskva. I think it's a Moskva 3, but that's going to need some work on it, so I'll do that when I get home. Also found a couple of folders. I found a Kodak Volenda, which I did pick up. It's obviously a 620 camera, and I do already have one, as you know, you've seen it before. But I've put a roll through that, so that's fun to have a look at. But what I'm really excited about is this. It's a box camera, as you can see. This is a Zeiss Ikon Box Tengor. Now, I've been quite impressed with the performance of some of the box cameras I've had on the channel in the past. And when you do a lot of research into box cameras, this Box Tengor is often hailed as one of the best box cameras that was made. Their production did span quite a long time. The very first camera made with a Box Tengor name was actually made by Zeiss and was made in 1924. Then in 1926 was the famous merger of four camera makers, four German camera makers, and they were Zeiss, Ernemann Werker, Contessa Nettel and Ica, that of the Ica Ideal, which you've seen on this channel before. And they merged to form Zeiss Ikon. And so this Box Tengor started off life as Zeiss Box Tengor and then became a Zeiss Ikon Box Tengor from 1926 and through to the end of its production run, I think 1958. This particular model is from very close to the end. In fact, I think it's possibly the very last iteration. So it's not actually, in kind of vintage camera terms, it's not actually that old. So this one is from 1956 and is known as the 56-2 model of the Zeiss Ikon Box Tengor. As with all box cameras, it is relatively simple. There is not a massive amount to it. We have a single action cock and fire shutter, which there is an interlink between the wind on so that you can't double expose. But single action cock and fire shutter. Across the bottom we have three potential apertures. There is an f9, an f11 and an f16. And as with many cameras of the age, many of the simpler cameras of the age, there's no aperture diaphragm, as it were. What it does is it just slots little circular holes like Waterhouse stops across the back of the lens. And then at the top we do have three distance measurements, and in its natural state we've got 20, it doesn't actually say whether it's 20 feet, it must be 20 meters, I would guess. We have infinity to 20, and then one stop across is 20 to 6 meters, and then the last stop is 6 meters to 3 meters. Now what that actually does, on the 20 to infinity, there is nothing behind the lens. The lens goes directly to the film. As you go closer, so on this one you've got 20 to 6 meters distance from the lens to the subject, it slides across an extra lens behind the camera lens, which obviously allows it to focus on that closer subject. And then you slide it across again and it swaps that lens out for another lens, which will obviously be a slightly more powerful lens, again allowing that focusing between 3 meters and 6 meters. Those lenses that come across are quite mucky on this camera. I don't have the tools with me to take it apart properly. I'll certainly do that when I get back. I've got to take the front off and I'll have to dismantle that mechanism so that I can then take those lenses out. There's a bit of fungus on them. So I probably will test those out, but they're likely to be kind of low in contrast and a little bit hazy. But we'll give it a go and we'll see where we get to with it. I am going to find somewhere interesting to go for a wander this afternoon around Johannesburg. We'll start off with some black and white film in here. I think I'll probably put in a roll of FP4. It's a nice sunny day outside. And then I'll take a selection with me and we'll see where we go from there. All right, see you out there. Right then, I've come down to the Johannesburg Botanical Gardens for a little wander around. It is a beautiful sunny day, as you can see. So the trees are making some nice shadows. I might try and look for something there. There's also some boats going up and down on the reservoir here, so that might make some interesting shots. Not 100% clear on the shutter speed of the Box Tengor. I think it might be a 30th, so I will be keeping an eye on that. I mean, there is a maximum. I've just taken a light reading, and we're looking at f16 with 100th shutter speed, and f29 at a 30th with the current lighting conditions. So I might have to try and find a bit of shade, and some pictures might just be quite well exposed. There's not a lot I can do about it, short of putting in a 50 ISO film or even lower than that. So 125 ISO, if the shutter speed is a 30th, then some of these are going to be quite bright, but we shall see what happens. Let's go for a walk. Right then, we'll start with this, just down this line of trees. It's pretty bright, so I'll put the Tengor on f16. We'll see how this comes out. Right then, time for a roll change in the field. I can't remember what I brought with me, so I've got more FP4. I've got some Hectare. I am going to stick with black and white, mainly because I think that most colour is going to get pretty washed out here. So, relatively simple, pretty standard box camera setup. The easiest way of doing this is to start you off the reel and then attach and we're going to roll it all the way over down to this end, and we're going to get one end on and we're in. Okay, I'm going to hold on to this end and we're going to roll it tight, and then we're going to put the back on. Windows open, so we'll roll all the way through until we get some arrows. Then we're looking for dots, and finally a number 1. And we're ready to roll. I think I might go a bit more abstract with this one, try and get some shots like up through the trees, something a bit different rather than these big landscapes. So I'm going to try and make use of the different like distance lenses. So we'll see how that goes. I'll start off with this. Right then, well that was a bit disappointing if I'm honest. I was hoping for more from the Box Tengor. Now there was a couple of problems that we had there. Number 1 was, I'm sure, the filthy lenses. I'm sure that was a problem. Number 2, and probably the biggest factor in a lot of those shots being a bit soft, was motion blur, and the fact that without a tripod it was almost impossible to hold that camera still enough to cope with the slow shutter speed. Now, it's still unclear, even with further research, whether that is a 30th shutter speed or a 50th shutter speed. I would say from the exposure levels and from the level of motion blur, and with knowing how still I held the camera, that I think that's probably a 30th of a second. At a 50th, I wouldn't be expecting that level of motion blur. But overall, as I say, I was looking forward to the king of box cameras, and it wasn't really what happened. What I got was, you know, it's a box camera, and some of those shots were good. There were some good sharp images in there. But in comparison with a lot of the other box cameras I've taken out and shot with, not significantly better. So Box Tengor can join some of the Kodak box cameras and the Agfa Synchro box on the shelf with the other box cameras. Not head and shoulders above the rest. Not bad, but probably needs a tripod. And what's the point of having a camera that's, you know, easy to carry around and small enough to fit in the palm of your hand if you have to use a tripod with it, if there's no option with it, if there's no alternative. So all in all, not massively impressed with the Box Tengor. It's just a box camera, same as the rest, and they're not great. So that's that. I'm back in the UK for a little bit, but then heading back out to Johannesburg again, third trip this year, towards the end of this week. There are more videos coming from Johannesburg. I've got another one shot. Next one's going to be large format, wildlife on large format. Lots of people in the comments of my last video said, you can't do it. You can't shoot wildlife on a view camera. We'll just see about that. I've been out, I've done it. I haven't seen the results yet. I had to send them because I was in South Africa, and I didn't want to bring the sheets back through all the security scanners. So I put them in to be developed out there, and I haven't had the results back yet. So you might be right, I might not be able to do that. It might be impossible, but I think I might have got a couple of good shots there. Wait and see. If you don't want to miss that video, then make sure you subscribe by hitting the button down below, and you will get notified whenever I attempt something that other people say I shouldn't attempt. There's a lot more of that coming up as well. I've got some ambitious plans, some big things coming up involving glass plates and dry tin types and all that sort of business. So there's some foolish behaviour in the offing. Join me so you don't miss those. All right, thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.